And welcome back to Pastor Plek's podcast. I'm your host, Pastor Plek, and joining me in studio today is none other than local forensics expert Jordan Smith. How are you?
Doing well. Excited to be here, Chris.
Yeah, excited to have you. What exactly are you a forensics expert of?
I don't know. You gave me that title. Why don't you tell me?
I don't know. You work somehow for the police.
Yes.
That makes it forensics to me.
I do data analytics.
Pretty much forensics.
Yep.
All right. So, Nicole, welcome back to the show. This is Nicole Super Trooper Troop. We're so glad to have you.
Thank you. I was wondering if you were going to let it slide without the Super Trooper part, but you didn't.
No, I didn't. And have you noticed that my voice is not exactly up to normal par? And for that, I apologize to all the fans out there. We are having some technical difficulties with my vocal cords, but we are remedying that with singer spray. It's what every speaker needs.
Not a sponsor.
An ad or what? What's going on?
Not a sponsor.
All right. So we're doing a sermon recap, and we just finished Jonah, going through the book of Jonah. Now, we haven't finished the series of Jonah, but we've finished the book of Jonah.
The book of Jonah.
Mm-hmm.
There's
Way
a
different.
surprise fifth week in the series of Jonah.
Week. We're doing Jonah 5 weeks, and you don't want to miss this week because it'll blow your mind. Okay.
Sunday, February 2nd, 9 a.m. and 10:45 a.m.
Come on.
We'll see you there.
Yeah. So this past week, though, was about forgiveness. And I mentioned the Green River Killer from the 90s, a dude named Gary Ridgway. Killed a slew of people.
Yes.
Men, women, whoever kind of got in his way. This guy was wild. But you know, if you looked at him, he looked like he was like an IT guy. That's what he looks like.
You know,
What does an
that
IT guy look like?
White.
Generic white.
Just like
glasses.
Yep.
Yeah.
Brown hair. Just sort of looks like he's bored. And
So that's me, basically, right? Just
You
no
have glasses,
glasses.
though,
I have
yeah.
contacts. So
okay.
same
If
thing.
you wore glasses, it would look like you. And so you're looking at this guy, and he's in this courtroom, and all these people are just, you're an
Railing
animal.
on him.
I wish you'd have a long, suffering, cruel death. You are pure evil. I hope you rot in hell for eternity. They are not messing around. And they hate him. And then this dude, and he's got the long white, he looks like Santa Claus, literally looks like Santa Claus. And he's got these rainbow suspenders. And it was before LGBTQ, so that had nothing to do with that.
He was just a quirky old dude.
He was a quirky old dude. And just sweetest guy is like, Mr. Ridgway, there are people here who hate you. I'm not one of them. I forgive you for what you've done. You've made it difficult to live up to what I believe in, and that is what God says to do, and that's to forgive. You are forgiven, sir. And when he says that, Ridgway just starts crying. And the thing that's wild is that Robert Rule's daughter, Linda, was 16 when she's abducted, raped, murdered, the whole thing. Mm-hmm. And he's able to forgive this crazy person because of his faith in Jesus. All right, so I brought that story up because people always sort of have I understand that you should forgive, but there's a line. There's a line that once you cross it, there's no more forgiveness for you.
Yeah.
And man, that's tough.
Yeah.
And so it's tough when you encounter people who have had the most cruel, wicked, awful thing done to them. Mm-hmm. And their response is not become the villain and everyone will feel my pain. It is to become the hero, to forgive and show amazing grace and absorb the pain, just like Jesus absorbed our sin. And so I think we as a culture have a hard time having compassion on sinful people.
Yes.
Nicole, tell me about some of the people you have a hard time having compassion for.
Anyone who wrongs me.
You will pay.
A little bit, yeah. Vengeance is mine. Yeah. Anyone that wrongs me. The people that happens the most with are the people closest to you, right? So my family and Melanie sometimes.
I will crush you.
Called out.
Well, it's funny. It's funny you say that because Adrian has that same thing with Megan, and she'll be like, "Oh, can you believe it?" And I'll be like, "What?" And it'll be something random. I'm like,
yeah, it's just any the closest people to you are usually the ones that you have the most conflict with.
Yeah.
You know, especially when you're co-laboring together as in ministry.
Yeah.
So it just happens. I mean, thankfully now Melanie and I have got to a point where we can work things out in a healthy way, which is good. But
That's really good.
it still happens.
Dudes, I mean, I'm sure we do get irritated at each other. I mean, obviously we do, but
Yeah, women just hang on to things.
yeah. It's like next level.
Yeah, it's different. It's different.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about you, Jordan Smith? How do you deal forgiveness? Is that an easy thing for you? Is that a hard thing for you? Where is that in the realm of like?
Depends on the person, but with family, for sure, I think I say I've forgiven them, but I'm so apathetic that I have no desire for a relationship with them. So then I question, does that mean I actually forgive them?
Because it's work. That's the work. You have to like do lots of like getting let down a lot. And that's challenging.
That's true.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I think, one of the times that I feel like the burning anger, I've been robbed a couple times. Like someone breaks into my car, steals a laptop. Someone broke into my car, stole a wallet. Someone broke into my car and then had everything to steal, and they just broke into my car. And so that's, for some reason, that feels like you violated me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And even though it's on a minor, like it wasn't the worst, but it stunk because, I lost a computer or lost money or credit cards. I had to do the whole thing. I had to go call everybody, all that.
Yeah.
So I think that's, for me, the violation of it. But I think the hardest thing is not just, it's the one-offs I think are more forgivable than the continual day in, day out punishing of you're hurting me.
So I have this friend who doesn't go to this church, but will remain nameless.
Friends outside this church?
I do. I have friends outside this church. I've known her for a very long time. And she has a tendency to be flaky.
Okay.
Repeatedly.
Yeah.
Like she's habitually flaky. And she and I were both invited to this party with a very good friend of ours, and it was her 30th birthday, and it was a big deal. And this friend of ours whose birthday it was is a very selfless person. And she's actually very quick to forgive. Like she's amazing. And my flaky friend flaked out on this birthday party, and I was so angry with her for such a long time. Like she didn't do anything to me.
You were angry on her behalf.
My friend, the saint that she is, forgave our other friend about this, and she was like, "It's fine," and I'm like, "It's not fine." It's not okay. She doesn't know that she hurts people, and I hung on to that for months.
Wow.
Like months.
What does hanging on to that mean for you?
I would love to hear.
I thought about it a lot, and every time anything with this friend came up, all I could think about was like how she had wronged our other friend and like how dare she, I avoided hanging out with her for a while because I was just so upset. And I thought a lot about like how I might bring it up to her. If I should bring it up to her, how would I do that? Yeah.
Okay. So I think there's a tendency for us, and I brought this up, is we judge others by their actions and ourselves by our intentions or our sad story. Like we all, here's my story. It's really bad. So of course, we deserve the whatever.
And I can act this way, right?
Yeah. So therefore I get a pass. So I think there's both sides. That's why we resist compassion, is because we deserve the mercy for me, but not for thee. But those people definitely deserve justice. And that's kind of where we go. So we reviewed Jonah and how Nineveh repented. And the funny thing is, the first line of chapter 4 is it displeased Jonah exceedingly, and which is fine. But the funnier part is the actual translation, if you read the Hebrew, is to Jonah it was evil, a great evil. And I thought that was just kind of hilarious. Like, it wasn't that it just made him sad or mad. It was like, this is the worst.
Yeah.
And to be fair, like if Hitler gets away with killing 6 million Jews,
right?
If everyone's like, hey, he's like, hey guys, my bad. I won't do that again. And like he still has all of his wealth. He still has he just like, hangs up worse sorry posters all over the place.
Yeah.
Spends 40 days in prayer and fasting. You're kind of like this.
That would be
like, that's cool now. Like, we're cool.
Yeah.
No reparations, no time in prison, no 40 lashes. Just he humbled himself for 40 days.
I kind of envy the people who come to religion late in life.
Yeah.
Because they're like, man, y'all got to do whatever you wanted for 80 years. And then just on your deathbed, congratulations, go to heaven. It's like, can I have that cheat code?
Except for, yeah, I mean, you might say that, right? But I think sometimes we forget how short our time on earth is.
I mean, I came to Christ when I was 17. So I was young, but like also like not that young.
Right.
And the life that I experienced before coming to Christ like sucked.
Yeah.
Like if I had Jesus and still gone through that amount of life or even the same things, I think it would have been a lot better.
Sure.
But like not having Jesus not having known Jesus in those times, like that sucked. So I couldn't imagine living like that until I was on my deathbed. Like regardless of what I like got to do, like life still would have probably sucked.
And I don't think we think about our mortality enough. Meaning, like, there's going to be a time when you are going to be old, Nicole, and I don't know how you're going to die, but you're going to be dead. You know, at some point, you're going to be like, and you're going to be struggling breathing.
Thank you for that picture.
You're going to feel like you can't hold it together. You're going to probably vomit somewhere, and then you're going to die.
It's very graphic.
Right?
Awesome.
Like, that's it. And then it's over.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you're going to wake up into this broad eternity that never ends. And then you get to reap the benefit of the things that you did on earth that were good. Like God will bless that. And that's like the jewels, the crowns, the rewards in heaven.
Mm-hmm. Whereas, such a strange concept to me.
What, rewards in heaven?
Yeah, it's like, so what? If someone's not the best Christian, they're the janitor in heaven? Like
exactly. Yeah, no, that's exactly what it is.
But if you're in heaven, everything's perfect, so what does it matter?
Well, I'd rather be the, mayor of 10 cities than the janitor. Maybe that's just pride, but I'm like,
sounds like it.
I'd be way more fun to be managing 10 cities.
I don't know. Getting to spend eternity in the presence of God, I don't really care what I'm doing as long as I get to be there.
Yeah, I don't think you will care, and that's the beauty of it.
Like that's the beauty of heaven is that like sin doesn't exist. So,
right.
Like,
so like the janitor is just as happy being the janitor as the mayor of 10 cities is being the mayor of 10 cities, but he's still the mayor of 10 cities, which
will be fulfilled.
Yeah. So I think there is you'll look back and when you sit down with Jesus and he goes, let's do your life review. Gosh. I want to go have it not look like a oops.
Yeah, he just opens book. He's like, ooh.
Thanks for believing in me, but
remember, there are no tears in heaven except for the part where he wipes them away. And I'll bet you the wiping them away is like.
It says he does that in heaven?
Yep. He'll wipe every tear away. And so, bam.
That is true.
Yeah. So I could see that during the life review. And then, or maybe your life review is going to be awesome where he sits down with you and just goes, hey, way to go, champ.
Yeah. Good job.
Yeah. Nailed
Look
it.
at all these souls you helped save.
Yeah. And I think there's a part of that where, the Bible talks about you can get saved as if by, with your works being stubble and hay. Or your works could be gold and jewels and all that. So, you can get the fire insurance and barely get across and you're saved and you're a janitor. That's great. Mm-hmm. Or you can kind of get to rule and reign. Not that being the janitor, you don't get to rule and reign, but you have a much greater expanded work of ruling and reigning. Because I don't think there's any trash in heaven either.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah.
Tuition's probably not a thing there.
Yeah, janitor role is probably not a thing.
It was just an example.
You might, I'm not, and it's not even that you're just an NPC, right? Like you're a actual person.
What's NPC stand for, Chris?
Non-playable character. Come on now.
Yeah.
I don't play video games, but
I
know
just
the
heard
words.
Grayson's a big video gamer too. I never would have.
Yeah, Grayson is a big
I'm
video.
not surprised.
Yeah, he spends a lot of time on video games after he gets off shift. he goes and chases bad guys and then plays one in a video game.
It's training.
It's all about training.
He was talking about setting up a treadmill with a computer there that he can just play video games while
and walk at the same
That's
time.
how you should do it. That's how I want to do. Honestly, I like whenever we get into the new building, I like an office with a treadmill, so I can do sermon prep and
walk at the same time.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
All right, back to what we were talking about. It was evil, a great evil. And then this is the only prayer after the repentance of Nineveh is Jonah going, God, isn't this what I said when I was in my own country, that you're a gracious God, compassionate, merciful, slow to anger, abounding in steadfast love, and relenting from disaster? And then he's like, God, kill me now. And then God's like, do you do well to be angry? And he just pouts, gives him the silent treatment.
I feel so much connection to Jonah in this last chapter specifically. Because I just feel like I've had the same conversation. Like, God, how dare you give them what they want?
Every pastor has this, right? Not every pastor, but a lot of pastors. Because people hurt you, say stuff, do stuff.
Yeah.
And then it looks like their life is going on perfectly. And you're just like, just you wait. God will get them. And then it doesn't happen like that. And then that's how, because most people, when they come to salvation, they get their life together and they're like, oh, my bad. They don't stick. Out of the hundreds and hundreds and thousands of people that have said, I will do anything, I'm going to get my life right, I'm like, until next week you will. That's...
Yeah.
And I think that's how Jonah's heart was. And he's like looking at these people going, there's no way you're going to keep this up, and God is going to judge you. And they keep it up. And that's what that entire generation is saved, legitimately saved, eternally saved, because Jesus says they will rise up at the judgment and condemn the contemporaries of his hometown.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then, after he's so angry, God appoints a plant, and then it provides shade for Jonah to save him from discomfort, which I thought was kind of funny.
Yeah.
First off, I thought it was funny that God appointed a storm, appointed a fish, and then he has to appoint a plant that saves him from his discomfort. And then he appoints a worm, and then he appoints an east wind, all for Jonah. And I think I asked the question of, how much more stuff does God have to appoint to come fall apart in your life for you to return it?
Get it together. Yeah. It's a great moment.
Have you seen people have a response to God sending storms, fish, plants, worms, and wind into their life?
Yeah.
Like, any examples of that?
Yeah, I guess I don't really want to go into specifics, but a certain veteran who used to be on here and then got a little heated and left.
Yeah.
It's kind of a tossing of the waves or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Storm. Yeah.
I had dinner with him last night.
Oh, that's good.
And I called him out on all that.
Nice. Did you tell him it was a storm and a fish?
I didn't. I said some more cruel things.
Well,
way to be straightforward, Jordan.
All from a heart of love, I guess.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, good. Way to go. And how did said person take that?
It's pretty much like, oh, crap, you're right.
That's good.
Well, way to go. Way to pursue the one.
Yeah.
That's good. Way to be like Jesus.
Yeah.
What about you?
I can't think of anyone specific except for myself.
Yeah,
I can think of myself.
You specific.
Me specific? Yeah. I feel like this happens to me a lot, where there's like a problem in my life and God sends me solutions in the moment and I don't realize that they're the solutions until later. And I look back and I'm like, oh, that was you trying to help me out.
Yeah,
and
I hate that. The hindsight, it's like, why didn't you help me know that at the time?
Yeah. So like that, like it happens all the time. All the time.
Yeah. Well, the thing that I love that is that Jonah eventually, he has to die again after God kills the plant with the worm and the east wind. And he's about to die because of the heat, and he's so upset about the plant. And God's like, do you do well to be angry about the plant? He's like, yes, I do. Angry enough to die. And that is pure tantrum.
Hey,
it just like reminds me of a teenage girl. Like I was like, that's what I was like when I was a teenager.
Angry enough to die.
Angry enough to die.
Yeah, it's like life's over. Like, you might as well just shoot me. It's like, I don't know.
I have nothing left to live for.
Right, yeah. And it's wild. And then God shifts it back.
Yeah.
And he's like, listen, you're so upset about a plant, which came in a night and gone the next day. And there's 120,000 people in the city who don't know their left from their right. That doesn't mean they were innocent, but it does mean that they don't have a clue about who God is, and they actually repented at the preaching of your word. And that's a mustard seed of faith that you could see. And that saved them, which I appreciated that. And so I think, God rebuked Jonah for having plant over people grace. And this is where I challenge people. I said, like, what's the thing where you have a plant over people grace? And what I mean by that is not necessarily like, do you like orchids more than people? No, what I mean is, what's the thing in your life that you cling to that is your, my precious, like that kind of moment.
Yeah.
How'd I do on the... Better.
You should have heard it before. It sounded like a grandma with no dentures in.
I thought your second service impression of Gollum was on point.
Thank you.
It was beautiful. You even like hunched over, and I mean, it's just the whole thing was wonderful.
Thank you. I did do a lot of work on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did morph more into the proper Gollum from preaching practice.
If you did not see that sermon, you should watch the.
Yeah, I did some video.
Rewatch that live stream if you have a chance. Second service, 10:45 a.m.
That one. That was the one. Yeah, we'll make sure to put up online soon. But the thing that just struck me is, like, whenever you take, as a parent with my kids, and I take away, either if my 5-year-old Pax or 7-year-old Titus, when I take away Switch, it is like stealing their soul.
Yeah.
And, which is why, as a parent, and you guys, pre-parenting thing, whenever you help a kid transition from one activity to the next, it's not good to just yank it from them, but say like, hey honey, in 5 minutes we're gonna whatever.
Yeah.
All right. And then, but I mean, who has time for that? Because you're like a normal person, and after the first kid you don't do any of that stuff anymore. And by the time you're in fourth kid, you're like, give that to me, and they're like, and like losing their ever living mind. And so that happens a lot, and you're having to remind them. And whenever I see that reminds me of, like, that's how I am about whatever the thing is that my heart leans toward. And for me, that was it. Because like, I'm a pastor, I don't really have that thing, until I thought of, like, has there ever been a time where I've neglected to share the gospel with someone because of something else? And I was like, nah. And then I was like, oh wait, yeah, there is.
Yeah.
The Army-Navy game. Like, when I watched that, it's not like a healthy thing. I realized. And Adrian just, like, because I sometimes just like, Adrian doesn't get it, But I was yelling whenever Army lost. Like, we lost for like 12 years in a row, and I would scream at the TV, hang your head. You should feel you have no right to wear that uniform. Lower. So when I was whenever I was a cadet, you could just tell the plebes, whenever they didn't do something right, just hang your head in shame. Hang your head in shame. Lower. And you're kind of kidding, but then kind of not. And I just was and Adrian's like, what example are you setting right now for your children? I'm like, that you win. I was like, oh yeah, that's probably not the best. Anyway, so a friend of mine who I was trying to reach out to asked to come over to watch the Army-Navy game with me. And I was like, no, I got to watch it alone, which is really weird. Kind of sad.
I have to bring this up
because I like am psycho. Like I couldn't pull it together.
You couldn't pull it together.
Yeah.
So I have to bring this up. This is a little bit of a sidetrack, but I feel like I need to tell you this.
No, that's good.
It's kind of funny. We were at the, hopefully you think it's funny. We were at the land lunch and we were getting ready for it.
Yeah.
And nobody was really there yet, but you were. I don't think your kids had gotten there yet. And Melanie and I were standing there watching you as you picked up a giant stick and started hitting stuff with it. And as you started saying and reacting, we were like, oh, that's Jet. Oh, that's Titus. Oh, there's Austin. Like we could, at different moments, we could see each of your kids in you. And it was just, as you were talking about that, that reminded me. I was like, wow, that sounds a lot like the reaction that Titus had to losing his Switch.
Yeah.
Sorry. Just
I'm sure. I mean, you pass
friendly
down,
observation there.
you pass down the stuff that they see, right? I mean, the best or the most lessons in life are caught, not taught. So I really have to overcome by the power of the blood. But yeah, so that's going to be, you'll be see kind of like how they grow up, if they can overcome what they've seen. Anyway, but yeah, I think that's the part where I was convicted. And usually on every other thing, I don't care like that much. I'm like, God, I don't care. But yeah. How about you? Anything that you have?
Oh gosh, I think about this a lot in relation to my cats, which is going to sound really weird, but like when my cats do something stupid or break something, like it's really easy for me to forgive my cats. But when a person ticks me off,
oh, that's funny,
or breaks something, it's like I just hold on to it. You know, like the grudge is just.
Oh, that's good.
There, you know, and so like that was a conviction that struck me several years ago.
How did you realize you had that? Like, how did you realize that was a thing? Like, because I mean, you're just kind of with your cat, and they knock over a bowl, and you're like, oh, it's okay. And then like, did something else happen? You're like, bah! It was like, whoa, it was the same thing.
No, I think I just over time kind of realized like, wow, my cat just literally like cats are jerks.
Yeah.
Like on purpose.
Right.
And my cats are no exception to that.
Mm-hmm.
Their ratio of jerkness to niceness is like they're more nice than they are jerks most of the time, but still, like, I don't know. One of my cats, Fitz, got into marshmallows that they're not for cats, but he got into them twice.
Gross.
And I just kind of like laughed it off, you know? And I was like, if Natalie had eaten something,
I'll be over.
I would have, you know, been kind of upset about that, and I wouldn't have just laughed it off.
Like, you know, go buy more marshmallows.
Because it's like, so I don't know. I've realized that at different points, and you know, it's always convicting about like, okay, I mean, the kind of grace that I have for my cats, I need to have. Moment,
though, like, you know what I mean? Like, are you able to go, I'm not mad. That's weird.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Huh. What about you, Jordan?
I mean, I think you already hit the nail on the head. People closest to you can easily get pissed off and just harbor it forever. I'm no exception to that.
Yeah.
People at church that I don't really know, it's like, oh, cool, no worries.
Yeah.
So
beat it.
Yeah.
All right, that's good. Well, yeah, I think that's the thing that was super convicting, and I think I'm hoping that the story of Jonah, as we look at it, just sort of reveals our heart. One thing that was super cool about Jonah, I think personally that Jonah came back to his own people and told the story and, you know, wrote it out, shared it. And then the ending of it was poetic, where God's asking the question. So now every person has to answer, how do I answer that question when God says, shouldn't I care about Nineveh? 120,000 people who don't know their left from the right and much cattle. And the answer, you should be like, no, you shouldn't burn them. Or, yeah, God, that makes sense. And thank you for having mercy on me.
Yeah.
And I think that's the point of the whole story that Jonah was sending to Israel, which ultimately would be destroyed because they wouldn't repent. And they'd be destroyed by Nineveh, of all things.
Yeah. It's like if you want and expect God and other people to have mercy on you, like you should also have mercy on others.
Yeah.
And I mean, God teaches us that. He commands us to be that way. So
yeah, so good. Well, hey, thanks for watching. If you have any questions or you want to talk faith, culture, and everything in between, you can text us at 737-231-0605. Any other final thoughts that we need to talk about before we close? I
just like the realness of this book in the sense of Jonah's, I'm angry. Like, I'm the same way. Like,
his honesty.
God, you're kind of being a jerk in my perspective. Like, can you stop doing that? Stuff like that. Same with David, right?
Yeah.
To me, just seeing that in the Bible is nice because David is bipolar, it seems of it. So
yeah, he's all over the place.
I just appreciate that of pushback. on God.
And then in God's gentleness with him.
Right.
And his pursuit of him, which is what we all do.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, thanks so much for watching From Our House to Yours. Have an awesome week of worship.